Number 16, this is kind of a trade we already talked about. The Phoenix Suns end up with Mikkel Bridges here. They picked Zaire Smith and then traded with the 76ers. It's a good pick, but I think Zaire Smith might have been a better fit for them. It's just, this is kind of what we were talking about with the 76ers. Like, they had the perfect fit, right? The Suns are not going to be good next year.
Right.
Why take a guy who's already 22 and doesn't have the highest upside, where you could take a guy like Zaire Smith who could develop into a really good player who also has high upside? I think both of the teams should have just kept who they had. It was a better pick than what they ended up with.
Yeah, I think the way that it ended up, obviously Zaire Smith is a little bit younger, could have helped out. I just think Mikkel Bridges is a guy that just needs to go to a veteran team, kind of show his leadership and his age. But maybe that'll help the Phoenix Suns. It might, you never know, because you have Josh Jackson, who's not a bad player, but I just think, defensively and offensively, I'm not sure about in terms of where he's projected to be at. He was a good towards the end, but once you get starting to go in the NBA playoffs and all that stuff, it might be a different story. So I think adding Mikkel Bridges isn't a bad idea, but like you said, I just think the fit for Mikkel Bridges was the 76ers. It was the perfect piece. Like, if you see in a jigsaw puzzle, that one piece that fits in perfectly, that was Mikkel Bridges, the 76ers, and now that piece is on a different puzzle.
Yeah. It's like you said, it could end up being a solid pickup for the Suns. I'm not mad at it for them because Mikkel Bridges could end up being a really good role player for this team of young players. He's honestly a little younger than most of them. He's younger than he's older than their star player in Devin Booker. So could be like sort of like a weird, like, grizzled young veteran type scenario. It's all right. I'm not mad at it. Number 17 is the Bucks. They got Mr. likes to get his butt licked, Donte DiVincenzo.
Christ.
Calling out them tweets. I like this pick. I do think they reached just a little bit, but I think he would have gone in this area anyway. I like this pick a lot. I'd honestly give this an A because I think this guy is such a freak athlete and really putting just a shooter with Giannis, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe. That's what he is. It's really, really a nice fit for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, I think he's a good fit there too as well. I think he's a little bit of a reach, so I'm gonna have to go with a B+, but still a solid pick. I think DiVincenzo is one of those guys that could definitely help the team out with his shooting. He's obviously an athletic freak in terms of how high he can jump. I think he had the highest vertical in the draft.
He did.
So having him there and just being the guy that he is, I think he just adds a lot of passion and tenacity that I think was kind of missing from this team. Even though, Giannis Antetokounmpo is more quiet, not as expressive as I feel like DiVincenzo is. Even we all know he's Italian, so we know how Italians can be sometimes. So the passion. So
like this kid.
Great pick. Like I said, B+. Nothing more to be said about
This is one of my favorite picks of the draft, honestly. I really, really like this one. Number 18, moving on from a good pick to an even better pick.
This is my favorite pick.
The San Antonio Spurs end up with Lonnie Walker IV. This is my favorite pick of the draft as well. Leave it to the San Antonio Spurs to get so incredibly lucky that a top 10 talent drops all the way to 18 for no reason whatsoever.
I think it was his medical. There were some medical issues, but I mean...
Whatever. Honestly, who cares? This guy is such a good fit for this team. Lonnie Walker's biggest complaint about him was his shot selection sometimes and his poor shooting because of his shot selection. There is not a better team to go for a player who has shot selection issues than the San Antonio Spurs. They're going to fix those problems. And this guy could end up being their star player if Kawhi Leonard leaves in a couple of years. And on top of that, he fits so perfectly with DeJounte Murray. It's not even funny. DeJounte Murray can't shoot, plays great defense. Lonnie Walker doesn't play defense. He shoots.
Yeah, like you said, I think Lonnie Walker is one of those guys that could really fit in once Kawhi Leonard leaves. Definitely is a guy that you could build your corner piece around. I think whoever is going to take over for Coach Popovich, whether he retires in a couple years or not, they're going to enjoy the heck out of Lonnie Walker. I think he's a solid piece. You kind of get rid of Danny Green in terms of where he fits in the team now. He's going the role on the bench now or on a different bench for a different team. So Lonnie Walker IV is a guy that I was very high on. I think he probably should have went higher than this, like 14 to like that. Even the Clippers pick, just up there. That's where he should have been. But I think a lot of teams were scared of something in his medical. There were some medical concerns. But Lonnie Walker, great fit, good shooter. Leave it to the Spurs, like you said, to just honestly find a gem in the draft.
The gem. That's a great pick for the Spurs. Number 19. You kind of already mentioned this pick. This is the Atlanta Hawks. End up with Kevin Huerter. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter. What do you want to call this guy? Like Klay Thompson Jr., Klay Thompson Light, somewhere in there. I mean, he's a shooter. That's what he's there to do. You know, he's not necessarily the best defender, which I guess it kind of gets rid of that Klay Thompson comp. But still, like that, they're just building a shooting team. That's what they want.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about this pick. Honestly, they just want to build the Warriors.
What's the grade you're giving them for this pick, at least?
A C+.
C+, okay. Kevin Huerter is a guy that just shoots, and that's all he does. Not really anything much else that he does.
He's a good shooter.
Great shooter, and I think, adding Trae Young and him are lethal shooters. But what made the Warriors successful, especially guys like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry very valuable, is the fact that Klay Thompson plays amazing defense and is a great three-point shooter. Steph Curry, solid passer, great, excellent shooter.
Steph Curry actually puts effort in on defense too. He's not the best defender, but he does put effort in, which cannot be said about Trae Young.
And then when we kind of go to the counterparts, Kevin Huerter and Trae Young is a good passer, great shooter. Kevin Huerter, great shooter. Defender, there's a question mark there.
They're both abysmal defenders, really.
So having Kevin Huerter there, I just think you could have had someone else. You could have had just different guys. I mean, I'm not sure if I would have liked it, but maybe Grayson Allen or just something that would have just been a lot better. Obviously, Kevin Huerter isn't another cornerstone piece for them. Obviously, he's more of just
He's just a guy who can
role player. He's a role player for years to come, whether he's on the floor or he's on the bench. He's just going to be a good, solid role player for them. The Hawks, like you said, they're building the Warriors 2.0, Warrior Light.
I would have taken Robert Williams, for example, would have been a solid fit. A team that doesn't have a center. I just don't necessarily like that. Like, that nobody likes the Warriors, right? But we're just going to build a less good version of the Warriors. Like, why? Why would we do that? Atlanta, I'm giving you a downvote on that one. Number 20, Minnesota Timberwolves select Josh Okogie. Is that how you say his name? I think it's Okogie. Let's just go with that.
I have no idea.
I don't really have a lot to say about this pick because I didn't watch a lot of this guy. I did hear some good things about him in the lead up in the draft combine and stuff like that. Minnesota needs not much based on their team. Like their team is still solid. So they need
a new coach. They could have drafted a new coach with that pick.
They should have drafted a coach. Yeah, I agree. That's actually not a bad idea. But this guy's supposed to have pretty high upside on a team that might end up trading some of their star players depending on how the season goes. That's not a bad thing. And I think this guy can shoot pretty well too. I think he shoots a decent three. So that's kind of what they need. So, hey, I'll give him a B. I don't have much else to say.
Yeah, Josh Okogie to me is a guy that's probably going to be taking Jamal Crawford's spot since they're not going to re-sign him. I think it's a decent pick. I don't know much about him. Like you said, it's just a guy that we never really watch that much because Georgia Tech games aren't really on TV.
I don't watch Georgia Tech, to be fair.
So I'm going to leave this as a question mark because I have no idea what kind of player he is, and I feel like I would do a disservice to you guys just kind of spewing out random stuff.
I'm giving him a B anyway. Random ass B.